It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Mark of Fuming Mouth. Thank you for being here today, man. It's great to talk to you.
Dude, thank you. Thank you so much, Alex. Great to be here.
Yeah, I was so stoked to see you guys at the Acacia Strain show that you were supposed to do in Kingsland. That was gonna be that was gonna be the hardcore show of the year, I think.
Dude, I feel like that whole belt of shows was going to be so insane because it was like New York City, Philadelphia, Massachusetts. It was like all three cities where we like thrive in, and I can't even imagine how it was going to be.
Yeah,
You know?
but better days are ahead, just slightly delayed. And mark my words, when you guys do return and these hardcore shows happen again, that's where I'm gonna actually maybe watch from the back, I would say, or maybe like the soundboard because I don't want to be in those pits.
Yeah, dude, I don't blame you.
Yeah, it's gonna look like a Halo game.
Oh, dude, I would love that, man. I would love for it to just be a Halo game. Are you kidding me? I love Halo.
Yeah, as long as if it's the second one.
Dude, the second one's my favorite.
It should be. That has to be the favorite.
I hear people say Halo 3 over Halo 2, and I'm like, they're not crazy. Halo 3 is dope too, but it's all about the second one for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. But thankfully, you've kept us busy because you've released your debut album, The Grand Descent, last year, but then you also released the Beyond the Tomb EP. Being that this was an EP that you released, was this maybe like leftovers from The Grand Descent, or was this kind of like a way to hold fans over for the time being? How did this EP sort of represent the Fuming Mouth catalog?
Dude, not at all. Actually, it really was like a logical successor, I think, in our minds to The Grand Descent. It wasn't leftover material. It really was like I think we had recorded The Grand Descent like between January and March 2018. So a lot of time had passed between the recording of it and the actual release of it. And so I think we, especially for me, like we were just hungry to record new material. That mixed with like listening to a lot of different like metal EPs and stuff from some of our favorite bands like Slayer's Haunting the Chapel. That one specifically, they followed up their debut album with that, and I just thought it would have been so fitting for us to do something similar.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the EPs I thought of, actually, kind of like having that sort of Haunting the Chapel vibe. It maintained the aggression that we know and love, but didn't give us too much to digest right out of the gate. It was like the perfect like quality over quantity sort of thing.
Thank you. It was like that was definitely the goal. It's like let's put out 3 good songs. No like half-assed like the first song's like awesome, and then the second song's like I don't know, a throwaway or something. They really are like in my mind, they really are like core like Fuming Mouth songs.
Could they maybe serve as like a good representation of maybe the direction Fuming Mouth is going into in the future?
I don't know. I mean, nah, not. In a way, it does, but I feel like it's even going to be a further step in the future. I think there are a lot of ideas that you see on the EP that you're going to see on this forthcoming LP.
Yeah, well, I felt like, I don't know if you feel how you feel about this term. Some people take it almost as an insult sometimes, but like I feel like your music has a bit of an experimental sort of vibe behind it, where you maintain the aggression, but to go from a track like off of the Grand Descent album with a track such as Nothing to Bleed or Out of the Shadows, Burning Hands, to The Spirit's Chain, which was a killer track by the way. Like it almost seems like there's many different like emotions or many different like vibes that you portray in your music, right?
Yeah, I definitely think that's accurate, man. And what I feel like most genres that people like say, there's some truth to all of them. Whether it's experimental, whether it's death metal, whether it's metalcore. There's truth to all of them for sure.
Yeah, people say metalcore is a bad word, but think about how many amazing bands are labeled metalcore.
Dude, I mean, like we recorded with Kurt Ballou, and the man virtually invented metalcore. You know what I mean? So like. Yeah, it's hard to call it a bad thing.
Yeah, and I don't get what the term metalcore means anyway, because like when they say, oh, it's music that has singing and screaming in, I'm like, so does that make Opeth metalcore?
Yeah, dude, Opeth is the 6th metalcore band.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, just like when Slayer put out Diabolos and Musica, and everybody was saying Tom Araya is my favorite rapper.
Oh my god, dude. favorite crapper. That album sucks.
Dude, I love that album. I may be a minority.
What, really?
Dude, I grew up with nu metal, so that was the Slayer album that I kind of got me into it. But nothing beats.
I think that's cool. I mean, like, for who knows? I say this now, in like 3 or 4 years from now, I'm like listening to the Slayer discography again. I'm like, damn, this ain't like half bad. Like, like I can see it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
You never know.
definitely. There's definitely been worse.
What do you like about it?
I don't know. I thought it represented a Slayer stepping into uncharted territory. I give them a lot of credit for being able to take a jump. And look, people want to say that it's nu metal, fine. No band at any time in the 90s, that album came out in 98, no band was free from that trend. Everybody jumped at the chance. When you look at like so many bands that have either thrived off of that category or maybe dabbled in it or maybe faded into obscurity, everybody was affected by that. Everybody. So
That's so cool.
yeah. So,
You definitely put up a good argument for it, for sure.
definitely. I probably earned myself a couple dislikes on this video, but as long as if it's directed towards me and not you guys, it's okay.
Not for fans of that album. They're going to be like, wait, immediately like it.
Yeah. Being that the Grand Descent, correct me if I'm wrong, this is really the first full-length offering of Fuming Mouth, right?
The Grand Descent is, yes.
Yeah. So being that, this, you want to, hit the ground running, it's the first full length, was there kind of like a preconceived idea for the making of the full length album, or was there kind of like a lot of trial and error involved?
I would say there's a preconceived notion for it, for sure. And there was a goal, and we really wanted to accomplish that goal. And like, it even started years and years before that, around like 2015, to do this album. And I'd say there were a lot of like hurdles with it. There were a lot of obstacles, but yeah, we got through all of those, and it really was built and came out exactly the way I wanted to. So
yeah, and you released like a couple singles, like a couple demos, and I know that you also released a split too. So it wasn't like you were just stepping into uncharted territory with the full length as well, right?
Right, and I feel like those records you're talking about, that was more where the experimentation came in, and was like, okay, when we go down this direction, like, how do we swim? Like, is our head above water? Is this like, are we kind of underneath? Or are we drowning here? Like, where are we? And I think that whole time period leading up to the Grand Descent was really telling for what Fuming Mouth was, what Fuming Mouth is, like what's comfortable for the band, And I think that led into the Grand Descent.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like there was room for experimentation, but you also had a goal and you were very focused. That's the best way to describe the Grand Descent. It was very focused.
Thank you.
Now, being a vocalist as well as a bass player, like, is there ever a time where maybe like a lyrical concept could influence the music itself, or have you always needed the music before you kind of need the lyrics?
No, dude, it's any single way. I would say like even like one of the Fuming Mouth's first songs ever, Executioner Sabbath. I was in like a music history class in college, and I wrote down like Executioner Sabbath, and I just started daydreaming about the song, and then that's how the song got put together, and just off the title alone. And Visions of Purgatory was another one like that. Like I assembled like the song title, some of the lyrics, and I was just like, oh, this has just got to be a hard-hitting song, So like, it depends. There's definitely a few that are like that, for sure.
Yeah, and like, do you like to leave the music open to interpretation, or do you try to convey like maybe a certain message and maybe engage the listener into the subject matter as much as the music itself?
I definitely try and convey a message. I definitely try and like, I love music. I love songs that drive home a point. Like that's my favorite. That's where I like really can get lost in lyrics, really can get lost in a song. So I'm always trying to do that. But I'm also of the mind that it's like, it's up to interpretation at the end of the day. Like people are going to see those words and they're just going to, let them be what they are in their own head. So it's definitely like a two-way kind of thing.
Okay, and if a fan like were to ask you, oh, what does this song mean, or what does that song mean, you wouldn't hesitate to explain it?
I would definitely explain it for sure, yeah, because it's like I had my own experience writing the song, and a fan's going to have their own experience listening to it, So it's like, I feel like it's only fair. If I was like, oh, that's up to your own interpretation, you're going to have to figure it out for yourself. Like, I feel like that would just like, I don't know. I just feel like that would be wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cop-out. I feel like, you obviously don't...
Dude.
Yeah, you don't want to like, force feed a message, but you also, as an artist, want to be able to explain and defend your work as well. So like, I feel like
Yeah.
you kind of capture the best of both worlds with that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It's cool. We're going in a direction where there's like much more of a storyline to the songs, I'd say. But all of that like open for interpretation. That's still there too.
Yeah. Would you consider The Grand Descent to be sort of like a concept album?
No, not at all. That is some real shit. Like that is definitely some like mind to pen to paper. Just like how I'm feeling a lot of the times. Sometimes when I look at it, it's like it flows like a story would flow or something like that. But ultimately, no. That's really just me and my raw thoughts.
Yeah. So it's not like a listener can approach your music from any angle. They don't have to start off with Fatalism and end with Half-Life. They could, maybe
Exactly.
The album is shuffle friendly, as I like to say.
Yeah. Oh, shuffle it definitely.
Yep. Now, when it comes to also laying down bass parts as well, like, have you always needed the background music, like riffs or a drum beat to maybe like work off of, or have you ever had a bass pattern written down? Because I feel like bass players, we've heard bass player jokes in rock and roll everywhere, here and there, but like, it has an emphasis on rhythm and it has an emphasis on melody too. So do you have to do you need something to work off of?
Lately I have been really of the mindset of like using anything. Like I started writing a song the other day where I took an SM57 mic and I plugged it in and was like, and just said this crazy like narrative monologue. And then I took it and warped it down like octave. So it was just like,
oh, your video cut out. Oh, there you go.
It was just like, I don't know. That alone was so funny to me that it like led me to write a riff, put down a drum pattern, So yeah, like a good bass line could do it, but really it's like it's whatever is like usable in that moment. I feel like if anything, like if you get too stuck in your like, okay, it's gotta start with a good guitar riff. I gotta write a good guitar solo. Like, you might just start spinning the wheels. You might just be, beating the road, so to say.
Yeah, definitely. Does the inspiration come out of nowhere for you, or do you find it maybe easier to come up with ideas when you're like maybe in a specific element or in a certain atmosphere?
It's definitely easier in a certain atmosphere, but I definitely sit down and force myself to do it too. Like I will be that guy and be like, okay, I gotta do a guitar riff. But that's why I bring up a lot of times I'll like, okay, now I'll do this like vocal thing. Like I just set up like a microphone at my desk and stuff. It really does depend.
Yeah, I'd imagine inspiration sometimes strikes at like the most inconvenient times too, right?
Oh yeah, you should see the voice memos on my phone.
That's why I'm always saying that there should be a law that pilots should not be allowed to be artists. Like everybody was so excited about Bruce Dickinson flying that plane. I'm like, I hope he's not coming up with some riff ideas as he's like approaching the tarmac.
Dude, that would be me. If I was a pilot, I'd just be like, bum, 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 bum. I'd be like, this is awesome, isn't it?
Did you?
Co-pilot would be like, what are you doing?
Did you
fly the plane?
Did you read the Hard Times article? Do you read the Hard Times, that satire site ever?
Yeah, I know of it.
Did you read that article where a hardcore pilot dedicates the flight to all the real motherfuckers in coach class?
No, I didn't. That's sick.
That was the best headline I have ever read in my life.
Yeah, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, like I'm. My goal is the next time I go flying, I need to take the phone and just do that.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up? This is Alex. How's everybody doing today?
Now, you ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview?
Absolutely.
How do you know when a song is done?
Oh, you don't. That's the answer. You don't. Like, even when it came to Burning Hand in the studio, I like asked Kurt, I'm like, have you ever spent like years working on a song? And he just looked at me and was like, what? No. And I was like, oh man, this is like, I gotta just let this song go. It's like sometimes I don't think even sometimes you just don't, like you just really got to just let it go when it's ready to go. I feel like that song I spent so long tweaking Burning Hands. It's like, okay, now put in the harmonic pinches, now extend this part, drag this out. It was such like small little things, which I think make the song, but like eventually, whether it's that song or like Road to Odessa was done in like a week. Like, you just gotta let it go,
There you go. And also because I feel like your music does capture a moment, which I don't know if that's mainly your goal or not, but like the longer you work on something, the harder it is to kind of like maintain that moment, right?
Totally, because then you're like, remember, you have to like think back. I kid you not, Burning Hand was like a work in progress. It took so long. And it was like, and not out of like this, like, oh, what do we come up with? It was just like never satisfied, And totally, it was like towards the end of Burning Hand, it's like, okay, so the song is about this. I got to make this work. You know what I mean? It was like constantly like checking myself. So yeah, it's like that.
Yeah. A lot of people, and maybe this is just from being on, on the tour with the Casey Strain and like stuff, but like a lot of people maybe label you, there's death metal influences, but a lot of people also categorize you as like hardcore in a way, which I don't know if hardcore was a big influence at all for your style. But like, what is hardcore to you? Like, what makes something hardcore? Do you feel like it's a style of music? Is it an imagery? Is it a message? What makes hardcore hardcore?
Hardcore is a genre from the 80s that has morphed into a million different subgenres. That's how I really look at it. It stems from like a group of bands doing a certain style of music and really just like pushing punk to the next level of aggression. And it's like, it's just really about like raw emotion and just or sometimes it's not even about emotion. Sometimes it's real callous. Sometimes hardcore is real cold, real cool. And that's like some of the best like hardcore punk bands in the world, But to me, it's like it always stems back to, 80s bands and then, it moves into all those other genres. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was a very concrete way of putting it. It normally becomes this whole philosophical debate that goes past the interview time.
Yeah, no, it's just like it's a group. It's a genre of music from the '80s that was so sick.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And your guys are from Massachusetts, so, and I feel like I consider Massachusetts to almost be like the sister state of New York in a way, where of having many different genres launch out of there and everything, right?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. And I have two more questions for you. But when it comes to playing live, is there maybe a similar energy that you channel into your live shows as you do when you're songwriting? Or do you feel like playing live and songwriting are two completely separate, different mind frames?
I think playing live is very celebratory, and I think writing, recording music especially is very cathartic. And playing live is that celebration like of that catharsis. So it's those two.
Yeah. Is it maybe a different art? Because you used to play in Treachery as well. So, like, did maybe like playing, was it that a different mind frame as well, depending on like the projects that you are playing with?
Well, Treachery is like that's like a band with my friends from high school. Like, that was like just a ridiculous band. Like, that mindset was like, that was some other shit. But as far as like a lot of my other bands, it definitely depends on the project for sure, like, and that's for anyone. Like, you could have a really like some of the rawer bands I played in, it's definitely like, oh, if you fuck up, that's like kind of cool. Where with like Fuming Mouth is more like, we're fucking up, but we gotta really try and like nail these notes. Yeah. So, it's all like different mindsets.
Yeah, and do you almost have to like practice crowd interaction and stage presence in a way, or is that just something that comes naturally as you play more?
Oh, that comes naturally. That's straight from tour. Like, and just like being deep into tour, like 20 days in, and being like, I don't give a fuck what happens. I don't care if I mess up right now. Like, I'm just gonna do whatever I'm feeling, and just kind of that like mentality. I'd say there's like such little practice when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's just something that's very natural.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. And the final question I wanted to ask you is, when it comes to Massachusetts, I mean, you guys are based out of Milford, right?
Technically Worcester first, and then moved to Boston, I'd say.
Okay. So is
But
there?
the band did start in Milford for sure. Like it started in Worcester, and then like me and Rob, the original drummer, like we practiced at his house, and we both lived in Milford.
Okay.
And so yeah,
Is there kind of like a current happening scene out there? Because I even feel like in the last decade, a lot of great bands, like, I mean, when you look at, you have like the Massachusetts, Kill Switch, All That Remains, Shadows Fall on Earth, Bury Your
yeah, yeah.
Dead, Diecast, but the Acacia Strain, Converge, Revocation. I mean, is there kind of like a scene, like a real good happening underground scene that you guys are currently active with? Or was the goal for Fuming Mouth to kind of go outside your state lines a little bit more?
Dude, I mean, the goal was definitely, I wouldn't say state lines, but it was definitely to go outside like the genre lines. Because when Fuming Mouth started, Massachusetts was thriving with so much like underground hardcore, like specifically hardcore bands and like every type across the state. Like, I kid you not, there was like Anchors Up, the Democracy Center, the shows in Western Mass, like, shows in Worcester. And every place was like very unique. And I know a few out there was like, I didn't even think about outside of state lines. Massachusetts was just thriving at the time so heavily with these bands. And I was just like, I would love to just, and then there was a great death metal scene in Boston, And with viewing out there, it was like, I just want to exist in all these. I want to be able to exist in all this because all these shows are awesome. Like all this music is awesome. And that's how the band really started. And that was like the mentality. In the past few years, it's sad to say, I mean, obviously with COVID now, but even before that, like all the main venues died off. Like a lot of those bands, like they splintered, and the scene kind of fell apart. And I don't know what's going to really happen after COVID. I don't really know where we fit, but yeah.
I think where there's a will, there's a way. Obviously, this is one of the ultimate tests of, the strength that music has. But I think this will eventually be over, and we're going to enter a fucking new aged renaissance of music.
I'm with you.
Yeah, again, it's going to be like Halo.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Either way, it's like I want to keep putting out Fuming Mouth music. Like even in like the worst case scenarios, I feel like music is so important now. Like even just from like literally the most surface level of like boredom, like music is so important. So
yeah,
I hope like I know we're gonna continue. I hope like all the bands we love continue, and everyone just keeps going hard.
Yeah. Any bands or venues as well that you want to shout out that maybe could use a hand right now that we could also plug?
Dude, I wish like the Great Scott down the road, it actually just closed. It sucks to say, like, I don't know if like me shouting out Great Scott is like going to really help it out. And then like, I know Ralph's in Worcester has had some like issues and stuff. Yeah, I'm not really sure. There's going to be a new venue in Massachusetts though, where Regina Pizza was in Allston. So I think everyone should, if you don't know about that yet, I think everyone should look forward to that.
Will they still have pizza?
You're gonna have to ask them. You're definitely gonna have to ask them.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Well, if they do, I hope Earth Crisis doesn't play there.
Yeah, right. It's strictly vegan.
Well, I would say that there's going to be a new age Earth Crisis rising from this pandemic. Instead of straight edge and vegan, it's going to be socially distanced and masks.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's just right around the corner.
Yep. So before we go, again, I want to thank you so much for your time. Great to be able to talk to you, and hope maybe you could come back to New York and make up those dates at the Acacia Strain. Is there just anything else that maybe you would like to promote in terms of merch, new music, maybe a live stream performance down the road or something like that?
Just check out Beyond the Tomb. It's our brand new 3-song EP. Check out the Grand Descent if you haven't checked that out. And just keep an eye out. We're going to be working on our new album.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Mark of Fuming Mouth. Be sure to check out the Grand Descent, the full-length album. New EP is out as well. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.